Hello, everyone, and welcome to this pilgrimage podcast. I'm Noah.
I'm Fraser.
And we're so excited to finally sit down in our little music room at home and record this podcast. It's something we wanted to do for a long time, and we're finally doing it, aren't we?
Yeah, it's exciting. Just please bear with us while we begin, and I'm hoping that the quality is going to be okay, but that's something that I'm a bit worried about, but we'll only learn if we do it, so that's why we're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. We're just figuring this out as we go. So this is just us kind of putting ourselves out there, not pretending we know everything or we have something to share, but just kind of wanting to set each other a challenge to do something creative together and to share what's on our hearts. And hopefully, I don't know, you take something out of this and you can be inspired. I think that's our aim, isn't it? Just to inspire with the little lessons we've learned so far.
Yeah, definitely is.
So yeah, welcome to the first episode of this pilgrimage podcast. So I'm Noah, or Noah Lou. My mum generally calls me Noah Lou when she's annoyed, so you can choose which one you prefer. And I live here in England with Fraser, who's my husband, and I'm actually from Switzerland. So if you do pick up a little twang or something a bit weird in my accent, that is the Swiss in me. Fraser, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, so Noah's already said my name. It is Fraser. And I'm married to Noah, like she's already said as well. We live in a little town in England. I work for a church here, and I'm also a music teacher. And so they're the kind of two jobs that I have. I studied theology, and I'm hoping to one day teach theology. That would be kind of a dream for me. I'm also a songwriter as well, so I've written songs for many years now. Music's always kind of been my place of, I don't want to say the word escape, but maybe expression for how I'm feeling, what I'm going through. Putting pen to paper is something that has always inspired me. And hopefully this project is going to be another kind of avenue, or maybe even the main avenue, in order to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And excuse me, we're just both getting over a cold, so we sound a bit croaky today. But anyway, yeah, we're both, like Fraser said, we're both musicians. Actually, I don't know if you said that, but he mentioned he was a musician and a songwriter, and it's something that we've always shared and always valued about our relationship, is that we've come together through creativity. And so we're almost coming up to 2 years of marriage now, and we just thought, why not, try something different and grow our skills and just use what we've done so far. So like Fraser said, he's done theology, so he really enjoys kind of diving into subjects and kind of finding the depth in that, don't you? Yeah, and he's really good at it. And I've just finished a degree in music journalism, so kind of like that perspective as well in a creative industry, and we're both really involved in church. So, hopefully in there we can find our feet and find something interesting to share with you guys. But yeah, this pilgrimage. So we just thought today we'd sit down, we've got cups of tea, and we just kind of chat about what this pilgrimage is, where the idea came from, and how we've kind of been walking with it these past few months or almost years now, and why we want to share it with you guys.
Yeah, so this pilgrimage was something that I remember when we found the name, we were actually in Switzerland visiting family over there, and we kind of came to a bit of a crossroads with some other creative projects that we had been doing. And I'm sure that we'll talk about some of those things in a later episode, and the process of when outlets change for you creatively, and even like calling wise, like bigger than just creative, but just doing your calling, because it doesn't have to be a creative thing. But yeah, so those things were changing, and we were just kind of thinking and dreaming as well about what we wanted to be doing. And I remember we were at a lake in Switzerland where we like to go, and we went to this cafe, and I think originally we kind of knew what we wanted to do, but not exactly. But then the name, This Pilgrimage, kind of came out, and that just really, we're both quite settled on that, I think. and we wanted to use the word pilgrimage for many different reasons, and maybe you can explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So I think just before, a couple of weeks before we went to Switzerland and we were sat at that cafe that Fraser mentioned, we were still here in England, and we're just reading the Bible and read Psalm 84, where it says that blessed are those whose hearts are set on pilgrimage, and it kind of really resonated with us, didn't it? Because
Yeah,
it felt like we had kind of started our life together with this idea of we want to live life as an adventure and never settle, even if we live a life of habit and, you know, there are moments that are quite mundane, but we can actually make life what we want it to be. And especially when you live with God, you know, us as Christians who have a relationship with Jesus, we just thought, well, we believe in a God who's creative, who's alive, who's fun, who's amazing, and we want our life to look like this because we're made in his image. And so that really resonated with us, and we kind of I don't know, chewed that verse, didn't we? And kind of talked about what does that actually mean to live on pilgrimage. So I'd say that to me that's the foundation. Would you add anything?
yeah, definitely. I think that's the whole idea behind it, and for me, something about pilgrimage that is kind of, when I think of the word, it's quite a common word now to an extent. It's kind of resurfaced in the last few years. I actually did a Google search on pilgrimage, and when you can see when a word is used over a period of time, and it was used a lot, obviously historically. Then it kind of dipped a little bit, but actually it's kind of rising a little bit now. But originally, it was a pilgrimage was like a holy journey to go somewhere, and obviously that's still the case today for people of many different religions, including Christianity. But we wanted to kind of get across the idea that our lives are a pilgrimage, and as Christians, we believe that ultimately ends up with us, our journey into eternity. And one kind of motto that I've lived my life by for a few years now was living life as something that outlasts it. Because I think when you live with that perspective in mind, living life as something that is greater than the here and now, that changes the way you think about things. It changes the way you think about your relationships, the way you relate to other people, but also what you do while you're here on earth. That idea of pilgrimage kind of goes with that idea of this is a journey that we're on, but also it's a holy journey. And although, as part of this pilgrimage, the whole project, which we'll kind of talk a little bit in a minute about what that will actually look like, but part of that will look like us communicating our faith, but we want to do it in a way where this isn't just a church podcast. It's not for people that know all the holy lingo, but it's for people that have actually never heard it before. So we want to communicate it in a way for those that, are friends that maybe don't believe in God in a certain, in that kind of sense that we would say that we do. Family as well comes into that. We want to communicate our lives in the way that we live in a certain way, and hope that that can help some people understand why we live in the way that we do, because at the heart of the Christian faith is the need to explain it to other people, because if what we believe is true, obviously we want other people to also believe it. We'd be a bit selfish if we never spoke about it. So this platform is a place for us to be able to do that.
Yeah, totally. And excuse me, also if you think about a pilgrimage, it's a time that people used to take out of their normal lives to go on this journey and to go through kind of highs and lows and walk and kind of, there were moments that were difficult and moments that were amazing, and that is a really, really good reflection of what life is for all of us, whether you believe in God or not. We all go through highs and lows, and I think for us it inspired us to also think about taking this space in the normality of life to go on this journey and actually figuring out what does it mean to make space, even if you're living your life every day, even when you're working and doing your hobbies and meeting up with friends and even in the boring stuff of doing laundry, which is quite funny because I recently got a job and it's my first full-time job, and it's kind of rocked our world, hasn't it?
A little bit,
A
yeah.
little bit. I mean, it's been in the best way possible. It's been amazing, but we've really struggled with our laundry. We actually, the other day, we had to go to Fraser's mum's and just bring a whole IKEA bag full of laundry because we don't have a dryer at our place. So we had to like hang everything and nothing would dry. So thankfully, we've got family here that could help us. But that's just an example, you know, like the boring duty of laundry. How do you actually make space in that? How do you make this part of the adventure of life? And so hopefully, you know, as you listen to this podcast, maybe you can take space out. Maybe you can turn everything off and listen to this for 20 minutes or whatever and get something for your day, get something for your week. That's really our hope, just that someone who listens to this can be inspired and go and live their life as an adventure and as a pilgrimage.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, one thing that we're both quite afraid of with this project, in a sense, is that we'll come across like know-it-alls, because that is the last thing that we would ever want to do.
Yeah, definitely.
And, you know, a dream of ours is to, and a hope of ours is to get some people on that are real experts in certain things and, you know, interview them and ask them questions about things. But, you know, we've both studied certain things, so we have a good knowledge of some areas, and we both have experience in some areas, but we're not know-it-alls, and we are on this journey as well. And this whole project is just as much for us to learn things as it is for us to teach things.
Yeah.
There's a line in a song, and I won't say what film it's from until after I've said the line, but it says, "Learn and you will teach, and teach and you will learn." And I've always loved that line, partly because I am a music teacher. I've taught privately and in a primary school as well. And a lot of my work that I do for the church is teaching young people certain things about Christianity and God and faith and things like that. And I've really seen that as I've taught things, I've learnt so much more. And that's, funnily enough, from Tarzan. So Phil Collins, that brilliant Disney soundtrack, wrote that line, and I think that's very, very true.
Totally. I've got a fun fact about Tarzan. I once broke my both my arms. I don't have 3 arms. I once broke both my arms because I was playing Tarzan in a tree and I fell out. And it was quite painful. Anyway, so that's kind of why we're doing this podcast and why we wanted to start this project, this pilgrimage, so that it wouldn't just be an idea that we jotted down in our journal, you know, one day by a Swiss lake, but, you know, we just wanted to see where it takes us, and it's raw, it's real, it's just where we're at, and it would just be fun as well to just leave a little trace in this world, and maybe in 50 years to look back on or to listen back to this episode and think, man, how far have we come since here? And yeah, so it's just a little project we're starting. What we hope to communicate is, well, it's hope. Hope is a big message that we both carry and have experienced, and inspiration, creativity, and just kind of chatting about the real stuff of life. Did you want to say a little bit about what else is going to be part of this pilgrimage? Yeah,
so we've kind of spoken about the stuff kind of in our minds that we're thinking through this project, but kind of practically what we think that's going to look like is there's 3 kind of main areas. So one is podcasting, like we're doing now, where we can really, you know, discuss topics, wrestle with them a little bit, get a conversation going that hopefully will continue. Also, both being musicians, music is going to be a big part of this project, but we don't want to kind of be labelled as a Christian couple double act. You know, we want it to be something that's a bit more than that. So the music will obviously be a big part of it, and we're really excited with some of the songs we've been writing, and hopefully on this podcast we can discuss in a bit more detail some of those songs and what they mean and the words behind them, where in our lives those songs came from, things like that. And then also video. We're both kind of, I wouldn't say we're we're very good, but we both
We
enjoy
enjoy it.
photography. We both enjoy videography. We both, Noah's vlogged and done YouTube stuff. As part of my work, I do a fair bit of YouTube stuff as well. So we both really enjoyed that as well, and we're hoping to make some videos. Hopefully, if you're listening to this podcast, maybe you saw the first video that we've released now about this pilgrimage, and so now you're listening to this, and we're hoping to do some videos like that, and just experiment and explore. We'd also love to bring other people into this pilgrimage, into the family, and on this journey as well with us.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So that's kind of it for today. We just wanted to sit down and say what it was about, so it's not just some random thing that pops up, but that's kind of the background, and we're so excited to share the stuff that we've been thinking about lately, and like Fraser said, the songs that we've written and the amazing friends that we have, and just to get them to share their journeys as well. So just stay tuned, give us a bit of grace, and hope you enjoy the journey with us. If you want to follow us, we have Instagram, so it's at This Pilgrimage on Instagram. So go and give us a little follow, that will help us so much, and we'd love to just share with you the everyday life of us and the behind the scenes of this pilgrimage. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Really, really appreciate your time and your interest.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening.
Cool, bye.
Bye.